Welcome to the sixth lecture on fluid properties and fluid statics. This is from the lecture series on fluid mechanics. In this session, we will continue with fluid statics, and the topics included for discussion are atmospheric pressure and its measurement, hydrostatic law and its statement and the proof, difference between absolute pressure, gauge pressure and vacuum pressure. We will also discuss and plot the hydrostatic pressure variation with depth in liquids by using numerical examples. We know that there is a physical atmosphere of air surrounding the earth, stretching over a few kilometers from the earth's surface. This atmospheric air exerts pressure on all objects on the earth. The pressure exerted by the atmospheric air on all bodies on the earth is known as atmospheric pressure. It is denoted by P suffix ATM. Atmospheric pressure is measured by an instrument, namely barometer. Standard atmospheric conditions defined at mean sea level on the earth's surface takes atmospheric pressure value as 1.01325 bar. We know that 1 bar is equal to 10 raised to 5 Pascal. Therefore, 1.01325 bar will be equal to 1.01325 into 10 to the power of 5 Pascal, which is Newton per meter square. In MKS unit, the atmospheric pressure can be written as 1.033 into 10 raised to 4 kilogram force per meter square. The pressure in Pascal divided by 9.81 will give you the pressure in kilogram force per meter square. There is a more convenient unit of pressure measurement, namely kilogram force per centimeter square. Many pressure measuring instruments are calibrated to give pressure in kilogram force per centimeter square. The atmospheric pressure in kilogram force per centimeter square is equal to 1.033. Pressure is also measured in PSI, that is pounds per square inch. Atmospheric pressure, when expressed in PSI, the value is 14.7. Now we will consider the barometric setup of atmospheric pressure measurement. Consider a vessel that contains mercury, and we have an inverted vertical glass tube inserted into this vessel which contains mercury, and we know that the atmospheric pressure is acting on the free surface of mercury. This atmospheric pressure will cause the rise of mercury in the glass tube, and it will rise up to a level of 760 millimeters. In other words, the atmospheric pressure acting on the free surface of the mercury will be able to support a vertical column of 760 millimeters of mercury or 76 centimeters. That means the atmospheric pressure head, that is denoted by HATM, that is equal to 0.76 or 76 centimeters of mercury. So how is this pressure intensity and the atmospheric pressure head are related? We can use the pressure density height relationship for that purpose. That is obtained from hydrostatic law. So P is equal to rho GH, or H is equal to P divided by rho G. Rho into G, we know that it is equal to specific weight. Therefore, here the atmospheric pressure head denoted by HATM will be equal to PATM divided by rho G. So in terms of height of mercury column, we have to use the density of mercury here. So PATM in SI units is 1.01325 into 10 to the power of 5, then that divided by rho G. So rho of mercury 13,600 kilogram per meter cube into 9.81. In fact, rho into G, that gives the specific weight of mercury here. So HATM in terms of height of mercury column So you will get 0.76 meters of mercury. That is of course equal to 760 millimeters of mercury. This is possible if you have above the surface of mercury inside the glass tube you have perfect vacuum. Usually above any saturated liquid you may have its own vapor. So that means the vapor of mercury will be there. So that will definitely exert pressure on the surface of mercury inside the glass tube. The vapor pressure exerted by mercury vapor on its liquid surface is very low compared to the value of atmospheric pressure head. So therefore, this will not cause much error in the reading of atmospheric pressure head. Mercury is the most suitable barometric liquid because of its higher density. The diameter of glass tube in the barometer should be chosen large enough to minimize the capillary effect. Say the diameter should be more than 10 millimeter. Now what is the atmospheric pressure head in terms of height of water column? HATM is equal to PATM divided by rho g. Here the density of water should be used. That is 1.01325 into 10 to the power of 5 Pascal divided by 1000 into 9.81. That is a specific weight of water. So you will get 10.33 meters of water. So we cannot use water or any other lighter liquid for the barometric measurement purpose. Now a simple numerical problem. Find the atmospheric pressure head in terms of liquid column of oil with specific gravity 0.8. So from the specific gravity you can find the density of oil, that is specific gravity multiplied by density of water. So 0.8 into 1000, so you will get 800 kilogram per meter cube. That is the density of oil. Now the atmospheric pressure head in terms of height of the oil column of specific gravity 0.8, that is HATM, is equal to PATM divided by the specific weight of oil, that is rho into g. So 1.01325 into 10 to the power of 5 Pascal divided by 800 into 9.81, that is a specific weight of the oil specified. So that gives you the atmospheric pressure head in meters of oil as 12.91 meters of oil. Before we complete the discussion on atmospheric pressure, let me remind you that the atmospheric pressure intensity of 1.033 kilogram force per centimeter square is not a feeble value. That is roughly 1 kilogram force per centimeter square. So that means on every square centimeter area, the normal force due to atmospheric pressure acting will be 1 kilogram force. So if you stretch out your hand, if your hand has roughly an area, surface area of 100 square centimeter, then the normal force due to atmospheric pressure will be 100 kilogram force, because on every centimeter square 1 kilogram force. So 100 centimeter square, the total normal force will be 100 kilogram force. So that means 100 kilogram force will be acting on the hand. It is a huge force. You will not feel this huge force because the atmospheric pressure exerted by air is acting in all directions. So this force will be balanced. Pressure measuring scales: absolute pressure, gauge pressure and vacuum pressure. This chart will give you a better picture. We have two references used. One is absolute vacuum or perfect vacuum. The pressure there is taken as absolute zero pressure, which is the lowest possible pressure. Now we have atmospheric pressure level, that is a distance, a quantity PATM above the lowest possible or absolute vacuum. PATM above this, indicated by this dotted line. Any pressure which is measured above atmospheric pressure, that is called gauge pressure. So we have a point 1 that is in the gauge pressure region here. The pressure there is above atmospheric pressure level, that is more than atmospheric pressure level. So how much the pressure at 1 is above atmospheric pressure level is indicated by gauge pressure, that is here denoted as P gauge. But if you measure the pressure at the point 1 with reference to the perfect vacuum or absolute zero, then that pressure is known as absolute pressure at the point 1. Absolute pressure at 1 here is the sum of atmospheric pressure and gauge pressure. So P absolute at 1 is equal to P atmosphere plus P gauge. Now consider a point 2 that falls in the vacuum region. So how much the pressure at point 2 is below the atmospheric pressure level, that is indicated by vacuum pressure. So P vacuum here represents the vacuum pressure at the point 2, whereas the absolute pressure at the same point, that is indicated by the quantity here P absolute at 2, that is measured with reference to the absolute zero. How much the pressure at point 2 is above the absolute zero. Therefore, absolute pressure at 2 is equal to the difference between atmospheric pressure and this vacuum pressure. So P absolute at 2 is equal to P ATM minus P vacuum. Remember, the gauge pressure and vacuum pressure are measured relative to atmospheric pressure level, whereas the absolute pressure at any point, which actually represents the actual pressure at the given position, that is measured relative to perfect vacuum or absolute zero pressure, which is the lowest possible pressure value. Usually the pressure measuring instruments are calibrated to read 0 in the atmosphere. Any pressure measured above atmospheric pressure is called gauge pressure, and the pressure measured below atmospheric pressure are known as vacuum pressure. Pressure gauges measure gauge pressure, whereas vacuum gauges measure vacuum pressure at a point. Next we will discuss hydrostatic law. This law gives the fluid pressure variation with depth in an incompressible static fluid. For obtaining an expression for the pressure variation in an incompressible static fluid, we will consider a fluid element. Let the fluid element have the shape of a rectangular prism. Let the element is situated at a distance of Z from a reference at the bottom here, and the element has a length or height dz and area dA, so that its volume is dA dz, area of cross section into height. The weight of this fluid element then will be specific weight into volume, that is specific weight small w into the volume of this small fluid element is dV. So specific weight of the fluid multiplied by the volume, that will give you the weight. Specific weight is rho g, volume is dA dz, therefore weight of the fluid element is rho g into dA dz. Let us assign the coordinate directions like this. X and y are in the horizontal plane and z is the vertical direction, and the z coordinate is positive in the vertically upward direction. Since the fluid is incompressible one, that is a liquid, its density rho will be a constant. And here we have the free surface of the liquid having atmospheric pressure acting on the free surface. Now, in order to get the pressure variation in the vertical direction, we will consider the forces acting on this fluid element in the z direction, which is vertical. Let the pressure on the bottom face be P and the area is dA. Therefore, the pressure force acting on the bottom face will be P into dA. After the height dz, let the pressure be incremented by a quantity dP, so that the pressure on the top face is P plus dP. So therefore, the pressure force acting on the top surface of the fluid element will be P plus dP into dA. And weight of the fluid element we have found already, that is specific weight into volume, rho g into dA dz. For the equilibrium of the element in the z direction, we have sigma Fz is equal to 0. That is the algebraic sum of forces acting on the fluid element in the z direction is to be equated to 0. So here we have three forces, P into dA on the bottom face, P plus dP into dA on the top face, and the weight of the fluid element rho g into dA dz. Therefore, the algebraic sum of the forces in the z direction, treating upward direction as positive, P dA minus P plus dP into dA minus the weight of the element, that is rho g into dA dz, is equal to 0. When you open this bracket P plus dP into dA, so it will be minus P into dA minus dP into dA. So we have a P into dA in the front, so P dA and P dA will be cancelled. So what we get is minus dP dA minus rho g into dA dz is equal to 0. So taking rho g into dA dz to the other side, we will get minus dP dA is equal to rho g into dA dz. dA can be cancelled from both sides. So now the expression reduces to minus dP is equal to rho g into dz. Therefore, dP is equal to minus rho g into dz. And dP by dz is equal to minus rho g. We know that rho into g is a specific weight. Therefore, dP by dz is equal to minus W. dP by dz represents the rate of pressure variation in the z direction. Remember, z is positive in the vertically upward direction. Therefore, this variation of pressure with z direction is negative. So that definitely means in the upward vertical direction, the fluid pressure decreases. In other words, the pressure variation with depth will be positive in the vertically downward direction. Since there is only pressure forces acting in the x and y directions, the pressure forces will be balanced as this fluid element is at rest. There is no pressure variation in the x direction. Also, dP by dy is equal to 0. There is no pressure variation in the y direction as well. There is only pressure variation in the z direction, that we found out dP by dz is equal to minus rho g. dP by dz is equal to negative specific weight. For the essential condition used in hydrostatics is dP by dz is equal to minus rho g, dP by dx is equal to 0, dP by dy is equal to 0. You can use partial derivatives also. Since the pressure variation is not a function of x and y directions, we have used the absolute derivative. dP by dz is equal to minus rho g, that is the expression we require to represent hydrostatic law. When you give a statement for this, you can write like this: the rate of increase of pressure in the vertically downward direction in an incompressible static fluid is equal to the specific weight of the fluid. Remember, the rate of increase of pressure in the vertically downward direction. So when you express the pressure variation in the downward direction, you can take it as positive. When you take when you consider upward direction, this is negative. Now we will plot the hydrostatic pressure variation with depth in an incompressible fluid. For that purpose, we will consider a vessel containing a liquid. Let the density of the liquid be rho, and we know that it is constant. The expression for hydrostatic law is given by dP by dz is equal to minus rho g. Therefore, dP is equal to minus rho g into dz. We are going to integrate this expression for getting the pressure variation. Let the bottom of the vessel be the reference for the z coordinate. Vertically upward direction is taken as positive. Consider 2 points 1 and 2, one on the free surface of the liquid and point 2 is at a distance of h meters below the free surface. Let us set the z coordinates for the points 1 and 2. Z1 is the distance from the datum, that is the bottom of the tank, to the free surface level, and Z2 is from the bottom, that is the reference, to the level of point 2. So Z1 minus Z2 is obviously the distance between the points 1 and 2, and the pressure at the point 1, that which is P1, we know that that is equal to atmospheric pressure since the point is on the free surface. Remember, the absolute pressure at the point 1 is P atmosphere. When you think of gauge pressure, we know that atmospheric pressure on gauge pressure scale is taken as 0. So P1 absolute is equal to P atmosphere. Let the pressure at the point 2 be P2. Let us now integrate the expression. dP is equal to minus rho g into dz, and we are going to integrate over the limit P2 to P1 and Z2 to Z1. So integral dP over limits P2 to P1, that is equal to integral of minus rho g into dz over the limits Z2 to Z1. Integral dP is P itself, and when you apply the limits, you will get higher limit minus lower limit, that is P1 minus P2, that is equal to, we know that rho g is a constant, so minus rho g can be taken out, into integral dz is z itself. When you apply the limit, that will become Z1 minus Z2. Therefore, P1 minus P2 is equal to minus rho g into Z1 minus Z2. And Z1 minus Z2 here, that is equal to the distance between the 2 points 1 and 2, which in this case is small letter h. So P1 minus P2 is equal to minus rho g into h. And we know that P1 is equal to P atmosphere. Remember, that is absolute pressure. So P atmosphere minus P2, that is equal to minus rho gh. Therefore, if we take the reverse order, that is P2 minus P atmosphere, then we can get rid of the negative sign, that is P2 minus P ATM is equal to rho gh. Remember, we are talking about absolute pressure. So P2 absolute is equal to P atmosphere plus rho gh, and if you want to write P2 on the gauge pressure scale, then that will be equal to rho gh, because in the gauge pressure scale P atmosphere is taken as 0. Therefore P2 gauge is equal to W into H. If you consider the relation P2 is equal to W into H, W being a constant, the value of P2 depends on H. So as we move down vertically in a liquid, depending upon the depth of the point below the free surface, the pressure variation takes place. Therefore, the pressure variation with depth in an incompressible liquid is linear. So the maximum pressure will be at the bottom where the depth is maximum. This hydrostatic pressure distribution has a triangular profile. Now we will solve a numerical problem. Determine the pressure at a depth of 100 meters below the sea if the density of seawater is 1025 kilogram per cubic meter. So the density of seawater is given 1025 kilogram per meter cube. Density of pure water we know as maximum value being 1000 kilogram per meter cube. Because of the salt content, the density is now 1025. And the depth under consideration is 100 meters. We know that the atmospheric pressure at mean sea level is equal to 1.01325 into 10 to the power of 5 Pascal. And gauge pressure at a depth of h below the free surface in a liquid is given by the relation rho g h. P gauge is equal to rho g h. And at a depth of 100 meters, the pressure is given by, if you write absolute pressure, then P atmosphere plus rho g h, because P atmosphere is acting on the free surface and this rho g h is the pressure variation for the depth of h meters, the increase in pressure for a depth of h meters. So it's a question of substitution. So P atmosphere plus rho g h, 1.01325 into 10 to the power of 5 plus rho is 1025 into g 9.81 and the depth h is equal to 100 meters. So you'll get absolute pressure at 100 meters below the sea, that is 1.10685 into 10 raised to 6 Pascal. Approximately we can say that every 10 meter depth the increase in pressure will be 1 atm. Now let us discuss the hydrostatic pressure distribution in a 3 fluid system. So we have a container that contains 3 incompressible fluids, say liquids, and liquid fluid 1 that is having a density rho 1 and specific weight W1, and fluid 2 density 2, density rho 2 and specific weight W2, and fluid 3 has a density rho 3 and specific weight W3. Obviously these 3 are immiscible liquids. Obviously the bottommost fluid will be having maximum density. So the density will be in this order: rho 3 is greater than rho 2, which is greater than rho 1. Similarly the specific weight also, W3 greater than W2, which is greater than W1. Now we are going to plot the hydrostatic pressure distribution with depth. So the first fluid is having a depth of h1, and the second fluid h2 and the third fluid h3. Remember, all these fluids are incompressible. They are liquids. We will select 4 points, 1, 2, 3 and 4. One is on the free surface, that is the interface between the fluid 1 and the air. So on the free surface we have atmospheric pressure. The P1 absolute will be equal to P atm, and P1 gauge will be equal to 0, because atmospheric pressure on the gauge pressure scale is taken as 0. Now we will write down the expressions for the gauge pressures at the point 1, 2, 3 and 4. So at the point 1, the gauge pressure P1 gauge is equal to 0. At the point 2, the gauge pressure P2 gauge, that is due to the liquid column of height h1 and specific weight W1, that is W1 h1. So therefore P2 gauge is equal to W1 h1. At the point 3, that is under the influence of the liquid columns h1 of specific weight W1 and h2 of specific weight W2. So therefore the gauge pressure at 3, that is P3 gauge, will be equal to W1 h1 plus W2 h2. In other words, the gauge pressure at 3 will be equal to the gauge pressure at 2 plus pressure due to the liquid column of height h2 and specific weight W2. And at the point 4, that is under the influence of all these 3 columns. Gauge pressure P4 gauge, so that will be the sum of the pressure due to the liquid column h1, liquid column h2 and the liquid column h3 with their respective specific weights. So therefore P4 gauge, that is W1 h1 plus W2 h2 plus W3 h3. So if you want to get the absolute pressures at the points 1, 2, 3 and 4, so P1 absolute is P1 gauge plus P atm, and P2 absolute will be P2 gauge plus P atm, and P3 absolute will be P3 gauge plus P atm, and P4 gauge we got the value, so therefore P4 absolute is equal to that P4 gauge plus P atm. So respectively, if you add atmospheric pressure to all these respective gauge pressures, then we will get the corresponding absolute pressures. If you want to plot the gauge pressure variation at points 1, 2, 3 and 4 along the depth of the 3 liquid columns. So at the level 2, you mark W1 H1. At the level 3, you mark W1 H1 plus W2 H2. And at the level 4, you mark W1 H1 plus W2 H2 plus W3 H3. And then join them by lines, because we know that the pressure variation is linear. So the first part of the profile for the liquid column H1, it's having a triangular profile, and for the liquid column H2, that is the profile is a trapezoidal one, and for the third column H3, the gauge pressure profile is again a trapezoidal one. We will solve a numerical problem by making use of the concept which we discussed in the previous case of hydrostatic pressure distribution in 3 fluid systems. So here we have a question. An open tank contains water up to a depth of 2 meters and above it an oil of specific gravity 0.9 for a depth of 1 meter. Find the pressure intensity at the interface of the 2 liquids and at the bottom of the tank. So here we have an open tank, and this has 2 interfaces, and the bottom fluid, that is water, and above that we have an oil of specific gravity 0.9. So when specific gravity is given, we can find out the density. So the density of oil will be specific gravity multiplied by density of water, 0.9 into 1000, that is 900 kilogram per meter cube. Therefore, its specific weight W1, that is equal to rho 1 into G. So 900 into 9.81, that is 8829 Newton per cubic meter. That is the specific weight of oil. So that is taken as fluid 1. Now the fluid 2, that is oil. So in fact, at the interface we have the point 1, and at the bottom we have point 2. So interface 1, that is the gauge pressure, is due to the oil column, and at the bottom of the tank, the gauge pressure, that is the maximum, that is due to the gauge pressure due to both the columns. So at the level 1 we have W1 H1, that is the gauge pressure P1, and at the pressure, and at the point 2, so we have the gauge pressure equal to W1 H1 plus W2 H2, as we discussed in the previous case. W1 is equal to rho 1 G, that is for the oil, and W2, that is rho 2 G, that is for the water. So for water, it is rho 2 is 1000 and G is 9.81, so it's 9810 Newton per cubic meter, that is the specific weight of water. And now the respective height of the liquid columns. Oil column has a height of 1 meter, and water, the column has a height of 2 meters. We know the hydrostatic pressure distribution profile. So it is triangular for the first portion and the trapezoidal for the second one, the second column. So the first part of the question, we will find out the pressure intensity at the interface of oil and water. So that is denoted by the point 1. So at that level, the pressure intensity P1, the gauge pressure is W1 H1. So that is 8829, that is W1 in Newton per cubic meter, specific weight of oil, multiplied by H1 is 1 meter, that is the height of oil column. So we will get 8829 Newton per meter square or Pascal. That is a gauge pressure at the interface level 1. And if we find the absolute pressure at the level 1 at the interface between the oil and water, P1 absolute is equal to P ATM plus W1 H1. W1 H1 is P gauge. So P ATM is 1,01,325 Pascal plus the P gauge, that is 8829. So we will get 1,10,154 Pascal or Newton per meter square. That is absolute pressure at the interface between the 2 liquids. Now the pressure intensity at the bottom of the tank, that is designated by the point 2. So P2 is equal to W1H1 plus W2H2. P2 gauge is equal to W1H1. We already found out that is 8,829 plus W2H2. W2 is the specific weight of water, that is 9,810 Newton per meter cube, into H2. The height of water column is 2 meters. So we can substitute over here 8,829 plus 9,810 into 2, that is W2H2. So we'll get 28,449 Newton per meter square or Pascal. Now the absolute pressure at the bottom of the tank, P2 absolute, that is equal to PATM plus P2 gauge. So gauge pressure P2 is 28,449 plus atmospheric pressure 1,01,325. So that will give you 1,29,774 Newton per meter square or Pascal. That is absolute pressure at the bottom of the tank. With this, we wind up this lecture. Have a happy learning experience. Thank you so much.